The sun stretched long and golden across the dry plains, painting the horizon in hues of copper and fire. The land was silent, except for the sigh of wind that carried dust and forgotten prayers. On that land stood a solitary man, quiet as dawn, his hands buried in the soil he called his own. Caleb Turner was a man of few words, a shy farmer who spoke more to his crops than to people. His days began before sunrise and ended beneath the quiet hum of the stars. Once, long ago, there had been laughter in his house, a woman's soft voice, the cry of a baby, but that joy had been swept away when his wife, Anna, died in childbirth. Since then, silence had been Caleb's closest companion. The townsfolk called him the ghost farmer, a man who worked, ate and breathed but never truly lived. One evening, as twilight bled into the desert, Caleb noticed smoke curling from the ridge, a campfire, perhaps too close to his land. He paid it no mind until night fell and thunder rolled across the horizon. The wind howled. Rain came heavy and hard. Then a knock, and soft but clear, though struck his door. Caleb hesitated, heart pounding. No one ever visited him, especially not during a storm. He opened the door, lantern trembling in his hand. Standing there was a woman, drenched, proud, and unafraid. Her hair, long and black, glistened with rain. Her eyes were dark, steady, and deep as the desert before a storm. She wore soft deerskin and feathers that clung to her from the rain. "I need your help, farmer," she said in a low, calm voice. Caleb stepped aside without a word. She entered his small cabin, bringing with her the scent of rain and something wilder, something alive. As the storm roared outside, she sat by the fire, unmoved by thunder or wind. "My name is Nayeli," she said after a long silence. "I am of the Apache people. The storm scattered my tribe's camp. I followed your light." "You can stay till morning," Caleb murmured. She smiled faintly as though she had expected no less. As they ate, her gaze wandered to a faded portrait hanging on the wall. A young woman holding a child. "Your wife?" she asked. Caleb hesitated. "Was," he said simply. That one word carried all his years of loss. When dawn broke, the storm was gone. The world outside was washed clean. Nayeli stepped out into the morning air and closed her eyes. "The earth breathes again," she said softly. Caleb stood beside her, silent. "You live here alone?" she asked. He nodded. "You speak to no one?" He nodded again. She smiled gently. "Then your spirit is too quiet. A man's spirit needs to be heard." Over the next few days, Nayeli helped around the farm. She worked with strength and grace, gathering wood, tending to the animals, mending broken fences. Caleb found himself watching her more often than he meant to. She sang sometimes in her language, haunting songs that made the air shimmer with memory. At night, she told him stories by the fire, of spirits who guarded mountains, of women who spoke to stars, of warriors who rode like lightning. Caleb listened in silence, drawn to the life in her voice. For the first time in years, he felt something stirring, not sorrow but warmth. But he sensed pain in her too. Some nights her voice would falter, her eyes darkening with something unspoken. One evening, Caleb finally asked, "Why were you alone that night in the storm?" Her eyes met his. "Because I lost my place among my people," she said. "A woman who cannot bear a child has no voice in my tribe. They say the spirits turned away from me. So I left, to find a new purpose under the same sky." Caleb's heart ached. "I'm sorry," he whispered.
"Do not be," she said softly.
"The earth still breathes and I still walk upon it." Weeks passed. The fields began to flourish again, as if her spirit had revived the land itself. Caleb found himself speaking more, smiling more. The silence that had once bound him began to lift. One golden evening, as the sun melted behind the mountains, Nayeli stood beside him by the fence. "Do you believe the earth remembers love?" she asked quietly. He looked at her, uncertain. "Maybe. Why?" "Because I think it has brought me here," she said, her voice trembling. Then, with a breath that felt like the beginning of something sacred, she whispered, "I want a child from you." Caleb froze. The words hit him like thunder. "Why me?" he managed. "Because your heart is kind and your spirit listens. The spirits hear better through quiet men." He said nothing. But deep within him, beneath the layers of grief, something awakened, something alive. The night after her confession, the world seemed different. The stars glowed brighter. The wind spoke in softer tones. Caleb barely slept, his mind swirling with questions, his heart torn between fear and something that felt like destiny. The next morning, neither spoke of what was said. Yet both felt its weight, not heavy, but sacred. Life went on, but the silence between them was filled with understanding. They worked side by side, tending the earth, repairing what was broken, not just the fences, but themselves. Days turned into weeks. Laughter returned to the farm. Nayeli sang as she worked, her voice echoing across the fields like a promise. Caleb began to hum along, one night under a canopy of stars. Nayeli sat by the fire, humming a song from her childhood. Caleb sat beside her, close but quiet. "Do you believe two broken hearts can make one whole?" she asked softly. He looked at her, his voice barely a whisper. "Maybe that's the only way they ever do." She reached out, taking his rough hand in hers. "Then maybe that's what we are meant to do," she said. The fire crackled, throwing golden light on their faces. For a moment, time stood still, the kind of silence that heals instead of hurts. The next morning, she found him near the barn repairing a gate. "In my tribe," she said, "when two souls promise to walk one path, they plant a seed together. If it grows, it means the spirits approve." He nodded slowly. Together, they knelt at the edge of the field. She placed a single corn seed in his palm. "For new life," she whispered. He pressed it into the earth and smiled. "For new beginnings." They watered it together, and as they stood, a warm breeze brushed their faces. Nayeli looked to the horizon. "The spirits have heard," she said. Rain came days later, the first in months. It washed the dust from the land, filling cracks with life. The crops thrived. Flowers bloomed along the fences. The small seed they had planted grew faster than any other. Caleb began to laugh again, his voice carrying across the fields like sunlight. That night, beneath a sky of 1,000 stars, Nayeli turned to him. "You gave me what I asked for," she said. He frowned softly. "But," she touched his chest. "A child of hope," she said. "Born not of sorrow, but of love. You planted it here." Her hand rested over his heart. Caleb swallowed hard, emotion tightening his throat. "Then let's raise it well," he whispered. Nayeli smiled. "We already are." The dawn that followed felt new. The light softer, the earth warmer. The laughter of two souls echoed across the farm where silence once reigned. The shy farmer and the Apache woman had not just found love. They had rediscovered life itself. And as the years would pass, travelers who crossed that stretch of land spoke of a place where crops never failed and the wind always sang, a farm watched over by two spirits whose love had healed the earth. If love can heal a heart, it can heal the world too. The shy farmer and the Apache woman remind us that sometimes the quietest souls carry the loudest hopes. Every seed we plant, in kindness and faith and love, grows into something eternal. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because every heart deserves a second beginning.